Oh crap, I banged my knee right during the intro. Hello everyone, this is Honey Badger Actual again. I'm coming back to you with a quick video on how to stay safe while you're ratting in nullsec and in lowsec. Clearly not flying in a straight line is probably a better idea than what I'm doing. So essentially, if you're ratting, there's a chance that you're going to get ganked. Now, if you look, you see this, you see on your tactical overlay here, see how it goes out to like 200 km? Well, most of these anomalies actually have an aggro limit range. And an aggro limit is essentially how far out the NPCs in any anomaly can and will target you. I'll put it this way, their targeting computers are weaker than player ships' targeting computers. So non-player characters have a limited targeting range of around 300 kilometers to 350. Some of the better ones go out to 400 for certain anomalies, but that's fairly rare. So when you're ratting in nullsec, one of the things you need to be aware of at all times is where your enemy can warp in from and land on grid with you. So usually, if I'm ratting or doing missions, I like to kind of rotate the camera, as you see, looking up and down, look above yourself, rotate around, make sure ain't nothing above you, rotate around, see the gates down below me there, but you couldn't see it earlier. You got that one anomaly right there. So what you do is you rotate around, and you pick a chunk of dead space. A chunk of space where there are no objects behind you. And you tap in that direction. Once you get in that direction, give me a sec. Just going to close that real quick. Oop, still got fleet up. Alright, so once you get in that direction, you start burning away. You got your buddies, right? Well, I'm playing a role in PVE fleet right now called Safe. I am the safe character. A safe character, by its definition, is a character that cannot be warped into. You cannot be warped on top of, you cannot be jumped on. You're far enough off the grid in a direction where somebody warping from a celestial onto you will not land on your ship. Then, the rest of your party, which this party doesn't know I'm making this video, so they're not going to do it, but we'll make the assumption that everyone anchors to the Nightmare or whatever other ship you're using as your tank. Now, once everyone's anchored to the tank will then align and set their movement speed as low as they possibly can, like so. You just tap your engine and you want to bring her down to like, 100 seems to be the slowest I can go on this one, but that's with my micro warp drive on. So you make sure your prop mods are off and everything. See, there you go, 30. So at about 31, pointed towards me, you're not going to go very far, very fast. You are still traveling, but because of your bubble, you're still tanky. But you are already aligned to your safe character. Now, this is important for two reasons. Because if at some point an enemy does warp in, your fleet or squad commander will simply warp the entire group of players to you. Once they've warped to you, then the enemy has two options. They can try and warp to you again by doing the rescan trick, or they can choose to disengage or try and steal your loot, that kind of stuff. But see, you'll see I'm fit up for E-War, right? I'm fit up for E-War because I'm a sacrificial character. As a safe, if somebody gets into danger, once I reach about 300 kilometers, if one of your other players comes in to chat and goes, hey man, my shields are gone, I'm down to armor. By the way, as the safe character, you should probably have multiple people set to follow. That way, oop, I can't press that one. Boom, there we go. That way you can monitor their current health status. The reason for this is, if you see somebody's health is going down, your job will be to look at what is killing them, essentially, and try and disrupt its weapons. You You're basically trying to give them a few seconds to survive a little longer. That's all. Now, sitting way the heck up here, if they pop an elite or some kind of special loot, I can click it. Hold on. I'm going to make a temporary safe right here. We'll just go save current location, SF, confirm. And then we will go to FSF and we will set it as our autopilot route. Ooh. Well, unfortunately, it's a little bit more difficult to do that when you're already in it, because you can't autopilot to a place that you're already in. So I'll have to do an example. So we have a battle cruiser wreck right here, and we're going to hit loot, and then we're going to hit this, and we're going to hit the SF warp. Autopilot will be engaged, but here's what's going to happen. You're going to pause your autopilot. You're going to land. You'll grab that special loot, whatever it is, which I didn't do because I did this out of order. But once you've grabbed the loot, essentially, I mean, you want to warp to the loot. You want to have your safe place. You want to have the autopilot turned on there. Once you've got the loot, you warp back to the safe spot. This allows you to secure your special loot. And you'll notice it didn't cancel my autopilot, so I can continue to do this once I've set it up. I'll go to my loot asteroids, I'll pick whatever ones I want, or my loot tab, pick one, and then hit loot. It'll say too far away, auto approaching. Your ship will then jump into warp. You'll land on it. You hit loot all, and then you hit your autopilot. Your ship will then turn around and immediately warp back to your safe spot. This is very useful for doing missions, especially in quick to warp ships, because it allows you to jump back and forth and continue to grab the loot over and over again, or at least the important loot over and over again, so that they can't steal your loot from you. But it also allows you, it gives you this kind of, it breaks lock on you. If your friendlies warp to you, it'll break lock on whatever enemy is targeting them. It allows them to basically warp to safety temporarily and reassess the situation. Now, this is beneficial for a couple of reasons, because if you... We're going to go star chart real quick. If you look at the system you're in, let's just zoom right in here. We'll go boop, and then we'll go solar system. Now, we're in, you're going to want to know which anomaly you're in, of course, but we're in one of these anomalies, right? So let's look. We'll find that one gate was way the heck down there. We're probably in one of these anomalies, this Angel Large over by the Intumescent Belt here. Or we're in this one here, one of the smalls or mediums. I'm assuming, give me a sec, you can go here, here. And this will tell you, as long as you're sorted by distance, what anomaly you're in. So here we are, we have the Large. It's an Angel's Large found by Atis, one of my squad members. So I'm in the Large that's by the gate. Now, because I want to be able to see the solar system and where I am in relation to all of my warp-ins and warp-outs. Oh, that was the wrong one to click. We'll go solar system. There we go. So, we're over on this Large. We can see that there's two main ways to warp in. You've got towards the solar system and sun to you, and from the gate to you. If you are anywhere in between those areas, an interdiction bubble, if you warp in a line, an interdiction bubble that could be set up as a trap will catch you when you try to flee in whatever direction. If they set things up right, they bring in stealth guys, they'll probably see your safe warp sitting way the hell up above the anomaly, and they'll probably see your fleets lined up on it. Now, the benefit is, it makes it a lot harder for them to wipe your fleet, or wipe out your radders. They might be able to tackle a singular ship before the rest of the fleet warps to safety up here above the anomaly, which is super beneficial. However, being up here also gives you the benefit of they cannot warp directly to you. I mean, they can, but they can't do it from a gate. They can't do it from the sun or the citadel. And they can't interdict you. So you don't land in an enemy bubble, and they can't land on top of you. This will give you a few moments to kind of buy some time, or at the very least, what you can do is you can send your safe character, your sacrificial lamb. We'll do a pretend moment here. We'll say, oh no, an enemy fleet warped in, and my squad warps to me, and now they're safe sitting way up here by me, and FC or one of the squad mates goes, hey man, I'm going to warp to the citadel. And that's when you got to jam him up, say, heck no, do not warp to that citadel. I will warp to the citadel. And that's what you do. You warp to the citadel. You do this because as a safe character or looter, if you don't have any good loot in your hold, because your looter and your safe character can be two different characters. That way you don't end up losing all the loot by dropping it into a bubble on accident. Say your safe character goes to warp to the citadel and he goes, oh shit, I hit a bubble on the way to the citadel. Bounce off of something else. That's essentially just going to mean, oh, what am I doing here? Boop, boop. Stop ship. There we go. Essentially all this means is that it gives you that almost scouting ability while you're ratting. And it also means that your safe character is still making money. Your safe character is not just sitting there doing nothing. They're getting bounty ticks. They're collecting your loot. They're your loot master. They may not DPS. They may not heal. They may not tank. But they will keep your ass safe if reds pop in. Your loot master and your safe should also always be watching their local box. Because the guys on grid who are fighting should not have to watch their local box. As a matter of fact, we find that a good portion of the time people will tend to try and rat semi-AFK, not fully paying attention, even in groups. And that makes you an easy target. However, if you have a safe looter, or just a safe and a looter, then you gain the benefit of, you have somebody who can fly out ahead of you and warp, and they will be able to tell you if there's a trap laying at the gate, or a trap at the station, or whatever, wherever. They'll also be paying attention to your chat and your local, because that is what they're here for. They have two jobs, usually, is to pick up loot, provide you with a safe space to warp to that you cannot be interdicted in, and basically be the guy who gets killed if you guys decide you're going to try and run instead of fight. They'll do usually one of two things. If one of your squad mates is tackled and can't get away, your safe will try and make the enemy disengage. If it's not possible, like if it's an interceptor and they've got a battleship tackled, you can send your safe guy in and hit him with the weapon disruptor, and now he can't really hit your battleship. That gives you plenty of time to bring in any kind of backup with the appropriate weapons to deal with that problem. However, in a situation where you, say, have 1 or 2, 3 or 4, 10, 12 interceptors, you're not going to bother to try and untackle that one ship. Your job at that point is to focus on making sure that the rest of the fleet can warp away to safety. So, either with the FC's word or telling the FC, you will pick a direction that's either predetermined or determined right then and there, and you will warp to it. And then you will warp back to the on-grid safe. You're going to do this because you want to make sure that between you and that one spot, there is nothing. There is no enemies waiting there, and there's no interdiction bubbles between you and there. I hope that kind of explains to you guys, the kind of the basics of having a safe warp character that you can rely on and having a small looter. The reason I say small looter is big ships are slow, they warp slow, and they're easy to tackle. So, if you were in something like a fast travel interceptor, a bomber. By the way, your fleet can warp to you in a bomber, which will confuse the hell out of the enemy when they go, hey, that whole fleet just moved out to 300 kilometers on, like, instantaneously. They'll probably assume you have a character there, but they won't know what kind. They might think it's a covert ops cruiser. They might think it's a bomber. Or maybe you're the looter in something like an Imicus covert ops or a Heron, something that can fit a cov ops cloak and warp cloaked. Now, I like cov ops ships for this role because cov ops ships can warp and move cloaked. So you can actually jump down to the loot in a warp, cloak on landing, look around in the different loot boxes, kind of, or, you know, don't cloak on landing, but look around in the loot boxes, and if there's anything good, grab it and run. If there's nothing good, cloak back up and warp back to the safe spot. Let your fleet members know that you're back in the safe spot when you land there. That way they can align to you again, and then they can get ready to warp. Also, that's one thing that your squad should know, is that they have to align to you every time you collect a piece of loot. So if you warp in, you loot an elite battleship, you warp back, your squad has to realign to you. Now, the reason for that is because once you enter short warp, I use that phrase to describe an on-grid on-grid non-propulsion modifier movement, such as you don't have a micro warp drive, you don't have an afterburner, but you can still go 200 kilometers in a few seconds using your normal warp drive. That's a short warp. Short warps typically stay within visual range, so some of them can extend out to like 15,000, 20,000 kilometers away and put you just off grid outside of the line of sight, which is also very helpful, by the way, but only if it's something that is extremely valuable, such as a rally point. What you do then is you can have a safe character 20,000 off the anomaly, outside of visual range of any cloaky boys that come in, and while you're cloaked, they can't scan you down. And then if you're super special, just absolutely, you know the best flavor of crayon special, you're out ratting by yourself at a capital ship with a safe warp guy, you have your cap already lined up. Somebody jumps in, they see a cap ship warp what looks like towards a gate or in the general direction of a gate, and they go, oh, he's going to such and such gate. Here, we'll use an example. They go, he's going to go to the Q4 gate. He's running away. Except he's not. He went 20,000 kilometers, splashed off grid, and is sitting safely. This will give him time to fire up a Sino in a different system, or call for backup, or, gives you some time before you get scanned down again, because they will try and scan you down again and jump on top of you. If they do jump on top of you, well, that's what your safe guy has E-War for. If it's only one dude, and he's trying to tackle you, your safe guy is supposed to engage the tackler. Engage the tackler, try and approach at zero style, bump them off the carrier or out of scram range while the carrier aligns, or dreadnought, aligns for warp. Now, your guy will probably be sitting there mashing that warp button, warp, 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 over and over again, and they're scrammed, they can't get away, but they're already lined up. All you have to do as the safe guy is physically bump, if he's not too close, physically bump or disrupt the enemy's scrambler or their flight path in a way where they can no longer keep your capital ship tackled. I hope this has been informative and helpful to those of you who don't know or don't quite understand how to stay safe while ratting in null. It's actually a very important thing. In my opinion, if you are in null, this window right here should always be open. If it's not open, you're not doing it right. If you are not paying attention to that window and occasionally closing and reopening it to refresh its list, you're not doing it right. Please, do it the right way. Pay attention to local. Always, always communicate in Alliance chat if you are under attack. If you are by yourself, or you only have a safe warp, and you're essentially solo ratting, and you do get tackled, there are two things you should do. First of all, if you're in a fleet with other players who are ratting in different anomalies, but in the same system, you send a located here ping and call for help. Then immediately open your Corp or Alliance chat and say, what system, what anomaly or belt, and what kind of ship is tackling you or what they're doing. So it should be who, what, or not that. Who, where, and what they're doing. The three most important details. Or also what they're flying to. Because if you get tackled by an interceptor and they drop a capital ship on your head, and we bring in a fleet of 5 cruisers expecting to try and kill a singular interceptor, but you didn't tell anyone about the capital ship, those cruiser pilots are probably going to be a little bit upset when their ships go pop. Whereas on the other hand, if you're not tackled, it's just a guy trying to kill you, and we warp in a fleet and you could have just safely warped away before dying, they might be a little bit upset that you've wasted their time. I mean, most likely not. Most players in places like our Void Alliance, the Void Consumes, we are a family. Especially places like Masters of the Universe, currently the corp that I call my home. Masters of the Universe actually treats their other corp members as a family, and if you do call for help, you will find that most likely an entire fleet of high-end ships will drop on your head to offer support and aid. However, that may not always be cost-efficient or cost-effective, so if you do need help, and you call for help, and it's something big and bad that they would get killed by, that's important information you need to pass on. You cannot just say, help belt 5, help belt 5, because that doesn't tell anyone what's going on. It tells them you need help and what belt you're in, but it doesn't tell them what kind of threat they're about to jump into, and that is very, very important information for everyone, including potential fleet commanders who may or may not be attempting to form a quick reaction force to essentially block in, capture, and kill whatever just tried to or did successfully manage to gank you. I hope this video has been somewhat informative. I hope that you guys understand kind of what's going on here. I'm getting fleet warped. I hope I don't die. Oh boy. But that's been the full video. I've got a call to arms to go to and a squad to lead, so I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Leave a like, drop a comment, come interact with us here in Void. Bring us more PvP content. We love it. Free PvP content is the one thing that Void has an abundance of. So if you like PvP and you're not in Void yet, oh, buddy, do we got something for you. You come on down here, you get all the fighting you want, and more. Have a good evening. The Void Consumes.